Hi everyone, this is Mr. T. Happy New Year. Can someone please type in the chat that they can hear me so I'll make a start. Awesome, thank you very much. Well, I hope you're well. Here we go again then. Daft online live lessons for the next couple of weeks at least. But we'll manage, right? We'll get through it together. I am recording this. So you're very welcome to speak if you want to turn your microphone on, but be aware it's being recorded, so those who couldn't attend this can watch it later, okay? Right, I'm going to make a start. The lesson is about something called stratified sampling, and hopefully you looked at the introduction vid yesterday on Corbett, and thanks to those who did the task. Sampling is what it says, you know, it's standing outside on a street and taking a sample of people, so you can use the data and interpret it in many different ways. You will know about a random sample, which is just pulling names out of a hat, and there are two other types of sampling at GCSE level, and this one that we're going to look at today is called stratified, and the other one is called systematic, which would be just taking, say, the fifth person who walks past and asking their opinion on something. Or if you work in a factory producing thousands of boxes of cereal, maybe you'd pick every 20th box to check the quality. So that's called systematic. Stratified is the most mathematical. And I want to start by looking at this example here of a synchronized swimming event, okay? Now, I don't know if any of you do synchronized swimming. I know we do have some champion swimmers out there, but I don't know if you do synchronized. It's basically dancing in a pool and wearing a nose clip. And if we look at the people who attended this event, we've got 86 kids who went and 52 old fogies who went. And the majority of the people who went were between 30 and 59. So if I was going to utilize the people at this event for some sort of survey, I'm sure you'd agree I'd need to speak to more people in these age brackets, 30 to 59, than I would need to speak to, say, the kids between 0 and 16, because there's much more people in these age groups. Now, I'm not going to ask all the people the question, whatever it is. It says here I'm going to use a sample of 50 spectators. So I want my 50 spectators to be representative of these amounts that you can see on the screen here, right? And that's called a stratified sample. Now, it's quite easy to do. The first thing you're going to do is add up all the people who attended this event, right? So we're going to add up all of these people, and just trust me on this, it comes to 900. And because our sample size is 50, we're going to think of everything as a proportion of 50 out of 900. Okay, so in a minute, when we look at a written example, everything will start with the sample size, this number here, divided by the total number of people, right? So it's just 50 divided by 900. And once you get that number on your calculator, you multiply that by 86 to get the number of people between 0 and 16 represented. Then you would do 50 divided by 900 again, multiply that by 123, and that would tell you how many in this group are represented, etc., etc. Right? Now we're going to come back to this question in 5 minutes. I hope you've got a pen and a bit of paper. I'm going to ask you to have a go at it. But before that, let's go through an actual real question, right? That I can show you exactly what to do every step of the way. This is an A grade topic, so it would only be on the higher tier paper. I'm pretty sure that everybody listening right now will be doing the higher tier anyway. So here we have the pupils in a school, much bigger than our school. Our school generally has around 100 to 110 pupils in each year group. This is about 3 times the size. And imagine you're all sat in the hall, and let's say, for example, I want to ask you, how many hours do you spend on TikTok? Okay, so I would assume that more year 7 and year 8 kids would spend more time on TikTok than, say, the cool kids in year 10 and 11. Lol, right? So I need a representative sample. I can't just go and pick everybody from year 7. But I'm going to ask 250 kids in this school how much time they spend on TikTok. So how many kids from each year group will I need? So the first thing we need to do is find out the total number of pupils in the school. And we're going to add up all of these numbers here. Yeah. And obviously this will be on a calculator paper. And it comes to 1600, right? So every time I do a calculation, I'm going to be representing a proportion of my sample size of 250 out of the total number of pupils of 1600. Okay? And that will start each part of my calculation for each year group. I will do 250 divided by 1600 every time. Now, once I get that number on my calculator screen, all I have to do then is multiply it by this number here to give me the number of year 7s, this number here to give me the number of year 8s, and so on. Okay? So let's imagine you have a calculator in front of you, you type that in, 250 divided by 1600 multiplied by 320, and it comes out as 50. So I am going to have 50 year 7 kids in my stratified sample of 250 pupils. Right, let's do it again now for year 8. So this bit doesn't change at all. Type that in the calculator, multiply it by 311. It's obviously going to be less than 50. And it comes out as 48.59. Follow the usual rounding rules. You can't have 0.59 of a kid, so that would go to 49. Let's continue on and do year 9. As you can see now, once you get the hang of it, it's very simple. This bit doesn't change. Type that in, multiply it by this number. Comes out as 59.3. Typical rounding rules is 59, and so on. I'm not going to talk through the last two. I'm sure you can see what's going on. 45 kids in year 10. And for year 11, type it in, and it would be 47 kids. Now, obviously, you could check to see if you've done it correctly, because our sample is meant to be 250 people. So the final thing I need to do is add up my stratified numbers and check it comes to 250, which it does. Occasionally, there might be a mild anomaly due to some rounding errors, but generally, it should always come out fine. Right. So I'm hopeful that that's pretty self-explanatory. So it's 3 steps. 1, add up the number of people in the whole survey. 2, always do the sample number divided by that. And then 3, multiply by each individual strata to get the number you require. Okay, so let's go back to our synchronized swimmers. So if you have a pen and a paper, and a calculator, you're going to need that. You can use your phone. Just spend the next 60 to 90 seconds then working out the first couple of stratas if you've got time to do it. So if you add up all the people, trust me, it comes to 900. I want a sample size of 50. So for each one, I'll do 50 divided by 900. Get that number on your calculator screen, and then you will multiply by these 5 numbers here to get each number for each age group. So while I respond to a couple of people in the chat, please have a go at working out those answers and check your answers add up to 50. I'll give you a clue. The first one, the 0 to 16, comes out as 5 kids or 5 spectators, right? So this one comes out as 5 when you do 50 divided by 900 times by this. So try the others. Give me 60 seconds. Hello to any newcomers out there. Sorry if you're waiting to be admitted. Right, so I'm very hopeful you've had a crack at that little exercise now, right? So it was always 50 divided by 900. 50 was the sample, 900 was the total. Mr. Deal, say hello. You were live on TV.
Hello, hello.
And we need to multiply that now by each strata, right? So for the 0 to 16 age group, you should have had 5 spectators. For the 17 to 29 age group, you should have had 7 spectators. For the 30 to 44, you should have had 20 spectators. For the 45 to 59, you should have had 15 spectators. And then for the last group, the old fogies, you should have had 3 spectators. And if you add those up, it's a total of 50. Anybody bold enough to type in the chat that that is what they have? Anybody at all? You can just fib and say, yeah, I had that, sir. No one's going to know, are they? Awesome, awesome. Thank you, Mia, Kiri, Molly, Loza, Megs, Callum, Matthew. Sure. Yeah. Ronnie. Drove past you yesterday, Ronnie, and you didn't wave. Katie, Jamie, Jake, Eve, Zacho, Coxie. Well done, all of you, right? Fab. Now, to a degree, well done, Leah, well done, Ben. To a degree, it's not difficult. It's just a new process that you have to learn, okay? The calculator does all the work. So you're going to be assigned official MyMaths on this, and hopefully you are seeing the MyMaths task now. Obviously, your numbers will be slightly different to mine, but I'm going to go through both questions on the MyMaths, and then you have no excuse for not getting a green score. We'll give you till the, we'll give you, well, actually, we could do it straight away now after this, couldn't we? And then it's done, and it wouldn't be homework, it would be classwork. So let's have a look at the first part. It says, choose the most appropriate survey. Either a random, a systematic, or stratified, right? So remember, I spoke about these at the start of the lesson about 10 minutes ago. Let's say you wanted to check the weights of the contents put into 500-gram cereal packets on a production line, okay? Now, you wouldn't want to take a random sample there because you'd want it to happen at maybe the same times of the day. And you couldn't do a stratified sample because there's no difference in any of the boxes. So what you do for that one is you take what's called a systematic sample. So I will use the letter M. And I would probably pick maybe, thank you very much, Mr. Deal. I would probably pick one every 20 boxes, for example. Check they were roughly 500 grams and we could move on. Let's look at the next one. I want to do a survey of pupils in a particular school about the amount of time per week they spend playing computer games, right? Now, this is going to be a stratified. This is like the example we just did. So you're going to need a proportional representation from each year group. So you don't just ask all the year 11s who probably spend more than all the year 7s, for example, okay? So that's going to be a stratified, which comes out as the letter S. And then the last one, estimate the average number shown by a roulette wheel after each spin. So I don't know if any of you have ever been to Las Vegas gambling. Probably not at your age. But roulette, there are 36 numbers, 1 to 36, and the number 0. And it's a completely random game. There are no patterns to where the ball will land on each spin. So if I was going to take a sample for that, it would have to be a random sample. Okay. I've got a feeling that on your MyMaths, those questions are not going to be too dissimilar. So you might want to quickly remember that it's systematic, stratified, and random. Now let's look at the proper question here, okay? A forest ranger wants to do a quick survey to check the general health of the trees in his care. Nice. There's the trees, oak, beech, walnut, pine, spruce, and there's the amount of trees he has. He has enough time to survey 40 trees, and he wants to do a stratified survey. And I'm sure you can see why. He's got loads of pine trees and not very many walnut trees. So there's no point in doing all of the pine because you won't represent any of the other trees. So this is why we use a stratified sample. So how many trees are there? So we need to add up these numbers here. Watch me do this in my head and get it wrong now. So 108, 110, 120, 130, 150. I'm going to go for 240. Totes embarrassing if I get that wrong. How many oaks should he survey? Right. So if you remember the example we did, it's the sample size divided by the total. So it's 40 divided by 240, and then I multiply that by the number of oaks. Now, I'm going to pretend I'm doing this in my head, but we all know I've just took my phone out of my pocket. I'm doing it on the phone. So 40 is the sample size, divided by 240, which is the total number of trees, multiplied by the number of oak trees, 60, and I've got 10. Okay, I've got 10 there. Let's do the same for the pines. So it will be the sample size again, 40, divided by the total number of trees, 240, multiplied by the number of pines, which is 96, and I've got 16 trees. Drum roll, please. Oh, big relief. Okay, right. So your numbers will be different here. I imagine there's still trees, but this might be a 50 instead of a 40. They might add up to 300 instead of 240, etc. But hopefully you have the process now, right? So let's have a look at question 2. Company car parking. A company wants to conduct a survey about the parking arrangements on its premises. They want a stratified sample of 60, so that number is very relevant there, to represent the different viewpoints of men, women, and those who drive and those who don't. Right. So here's all our data here. So the first thing we need to do is add up these numbers to determine the total number of people in the survey. So let's have a look here. We've got 109, 209, 229, 230, 240, I think. They add up to 240. So to do our stratified sampling, we're going to take our number 60, our sample, divide it by 240, and then multiply by these 4 numbers here to input our answers over here. To see how many men who drive are in the sample, how many men who don't drive, etc. Right? So again, I'm not going to fib, I'm on my phone. So 60 is the stratified sample, divided by 240, which is the total. And then I need to multiply that by 56 for the men who drive, and that comes out as 14. And then I need to do the same for the men who don't drive. And my calculator says 12.25. So I'm going to round that down to 12. The women who drive, my calculator says 18.75. So I'm going to round that to 19. And then finally, the women who don't drive comes out as 15. Now, we should be able to get an idea if we've got it right, because we know our sample is 60 people. So if I add these up, 20, 33, 43, 53, 55, 60. So I'm pretty confident that is correct. Oosh. Yes, got a green, mega chuffed. Be pretty embarrassing if I didn't. So that is your, we won't call it homework, we'll call it classwork, right? It's only 20 past 1. You can get that done now by the latest 22, quarter to 2. And then your My Maths is done, and you'll have a manga task then on this published tomorrow, I believe. Right, I'm going to go back to the screen. Does anybody need to say anything? Was that fairly self-explanatory? Can someone just fib and say, yeah, no problem, and I'll get on the My Maths? Thank you, Jamie. I'll take that. Thank you to the 4. Yeah, thank you, Katie. Happy New Year to you too, etc., etc. It's very, very quiet here without you lot. And I think I've worked out that you've had about 3 minutes of school in the last 6 months, year 10. So hang in there. I know how tough it must be. I really appreciate all of you logging on. Have a crack at this topic. It's an A-grade topic. Happy New Year to you all. Myself or Mr. Bounds will be doing another live lesson later in the week. So keep your eyes on Google Chat and get that My Maths done straight away. Okay, right, I'm going to stop recording now and I will speak to you all soon. Bye bye. Right, 3, cancel 2, cancel 1. Ah.